Hello and welcome to episode 104 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. I'm the father of the most beautiful beast in the world, Jerry. And we are coming off of the nut low off season. Yes, that's right. We've battled through massive fires, a pandemic, no sports for 4 months, Kobe dying, massive societal unrest. My fucking WeWork got closed down, which, by the way, is one of the worst things to ever happen to me. But anyway, we've made it. Football is back, baby. And really, it's not football being back that matters to me. It's fantasy football being back. It's DFS being back. It really is the best game. Before I get into it here on this solo pod, reminder that our in-season package is now live. Includes Silva's matchups, our Friday night show, our Sunday morning show, our projections, all my DFS content, Dink and Leone's new GPP show, tons more. It's basically what we think you need to win at DFS and season long. On the site right now, there are monthly and weekly options as well as full season. If you already have the draft kit and wish to upgrade to bundle, please email us support@establishtheRun.com. So going forward on this feed, you will find the solo pods and you will find half of our team by team pods. All the other shows will be behind the paywall. We'll get in-season subscribers a special RSS link that they'll set up and be able to get the pods that way on the platform of their choice. All right. Normally during these solo pods, I'll kind of start by reviewing the week in DFS. I'll look back for mistakes that I made, mistakes that other people I thought made from a cash and GPP perspective. I'll talk about what won and what didn't, what we can learn from it, and then I'll go ahead and answer listener questions, which of course is quite fun and engaging. So fun, in fact, that I turned it into an ebook, which of course became one of the most important novels of our generation, of course. But these solo pods, again, will be free. And we'll do those and we'll take questions. The Sunday morning show, by the way, with Silva, will be taking actual football questions, more, start sit and who should I play and stuff like that. That's kind of the last minute stuff we take on Sunday mornings. On here, the questions that I take are hopefully more general and more fun. But anyways, of course, there's nothing to recap here today. So I'm going to just take some extra listener questions, going to take 10 of them today. So producer Luke, hit the theme music. All right, question 1 comes from Bryce Hamamoto. He says, can you explain how overlays work? Yeah, for sure. It's pretty simple. Overlay in the context of DFS is really quite simple. It refers to any guaranteed prize pool tournament, aka GPP, guaranteed prize pool, but typically refers to large field ones. So by law, by regulations, DFS sites must guarantee their prize pool for these large field contests and the number of entrants in these GPPs when they announce them. It's not like a poker tournament that probably you guys have played in where the prize pool is based on how many people show up to play. The prize pools in DFS are predetermined on these big contests. So overlay comes in when a tournament does not fill, not enough people sign up to play. So let's say DraftKings guarantees 100K in a tournament Sunday, but only 80,000 worth of buy-ins show up. That extra 20K doesn't just go away. It's just a higher percentage of entrants will cash, and it effectively reduces the rake, sometimes creates no rake or reverse rake situations, and it also increases our chances of winning. And so sites do this all the time in week one. It's kind of marketing, and it also gives new players a better experience. They want to have the biggest tournaments because that attracts customers. And if the tournament overlays, well, more people get paid and they're way more likely to be retained as customers if they have a good experience in their first week. So it's just a part of the ecosystem that is there, and especially in week one, and for sure something that we should take advantage of. Question 2 comes from Suma Teeth. He says, what's the optimal strategy for literally accomplishing anything for work or DFS while working from home and also having 3 kids in the house? Yeah, the strat is just to leave, Suma Teeth. That's the only strat when you have 3 kids in the house and you're trying to get anything done. Turkey, Barbados, somewhere in Asia. I don't know, somewhere they're accepting Americans, a WeWork that didn't close on you. That's the thing though, man. I do think that COVID kind of backdoored people to wake up a bit on a few things. And one of those is like the work from home stuff. And I think, big business finally woke up and realized that, hey, we don't have to force our employees to commute, and we don't have to pay for this absurd office space. Like, our employees can be more efficient from home. They can accomplish more and be happier. And maybe more importantly, we can recruit the best people from anywhere, not just those who live in X city, but the pool of applicants to work for your company is massive if you say you can work from home. It's anywhere. But the big caveat, of course, is no kids. You can't work from home with kids. It's just, not possible. So I get you. The second thing, though, about the people learning from COVID, states are just, they're bleeding money from COVID-related expenses, right? And so they're pushing marijuana legislation through. They're pushing sports betting legislation through. Massive, massive tax boosts on two things that people are doing anyways already underground. Might as well regulate it and tax it, right? I think states are realizing that now, and it's getting through. The third thing I think fallout from COVID, people realize like how disgusting we all are. Everyone laughed at me, right? Adam won't eat a birthday cake after someone else blows out the candles. Adam won't drink from a glass at the bar. Adam won't share deodorant. You know what, man? I was right. And the final thing I would say is that I think people realize that the stock market is just straight gambling. And yeah, like people wear suits and there's big companies and yada, yada, and there's a lot of money. But I think people finally realize that it's straight gambling. Like, quote unquote, analysts do research. They try to predict the future using incomplete information and then bet on it. Does that sound familiar? Right. So yeah, like that's been obvious, I hope, to most people for a long time. But I think the general public during this pandemic finally woke up to it, at least to some degree. Question 3 from Jake Mason. He says, how have the fine folks at GenderLabs LLC been preparing for the seemingly inevitable post-COVID baby boom? Yeah, so obviously the business here at GenderLabs LLC has been hurt by the COVID-induced cancellation of all our in-home consultations. However, I have to say the business is booming in the virtual gender consulting business. So what we've been doing is having our clients set up the Zoom, on the location of the intercourse, and then we talk them through all the data-driven strat, that our R&D team has put together. Optimal launch angles, exit velocity, average depth of penetration. It's actually been pretty seamless through Zoom, and it's allowed us to be more efficient, right? Like we can do up to 20 in-home consultations a night virtually, whereas before we could only do one. We had to have our consults be there. So yeah, things are good at GenderLabs LLC. Thanks for asking. Question 4 from Martin. He says, any advice on the best path for prop betting for those of us in states without legalized sports betting yet? Love your prop stuff on ETR and haven't been able to participate. Yeah, sorry, man. I really don't know what to say. I'm sure there are offshores that you could get on, but I would never recommend, like putting my name behind any offshores. I'm just like too scarred. And you have to factor in, like, when you're calculating what your EV would be betting offshore, like you have to factor in chances of you not getting paid or the site going under, So yeah, I guess the only play if you want to bet props, Martin, is to move. Question 5 from Matt Moore. He says, what do you enjoy more at this point in your career? Producing content / podcasting or actually playing DFS? Oh, playing, for sure. Like doing the articles and the shows is easy and natural for me, but only because I actually like have my dick on the line when I'm playing, like I'm literally just trying to convey what I've learned and gathered from me trying to win money. That's it. Like when I tweet something, it's because I'm researching for my own teams. When I write something, it's because I came across it working on my own teams. And like, that's just it. So, yeah, for sure playing, but let's be honest too. Like, I think there's a saying, I don't even know if this is a saying, but like $1 won is better than $1 earned or something like that. And like, I feel that way, like entering the battleground of DFS and emerging as a winner is just like the best feeling. It feels way better than making money from actual work, So even though content and podcasting for sure has, I think, a higher ceiling in terms of straight money, I'm always going to be a player first, I think. I hope. Question 6 from Mike Evans. He says, to what extent are you discounting home field advantage this year with little to no crowds? Yeah, good question. Really hard one to answer. Let's start with this. I think the impact of home field has weakened over time. So whereas maybe in the 90s or even the early 2000s, it was worth, 3, 4, even 5 points in the NFL. I think that's changed to some degree, been weakened to some degree. Travel for these guys is like luxury travel now. They stay at the Four Seasons. They have their own charters. The opposing locker rooms are sick, like they're on this strict regimen for eating and hydration and training where their bodies aren't affected by the travel as much. So recently, I think there's actually data that's shown that the public is actually overweighting home field in the betting market. Still, I do think it matters, but doesn't matter without fans or with only 2,000 or 4,000 fans in the stadium or whatever. Well, we know for sure. One thing we know for sure is home field has more of an effect early in a game. Like the data has proven that, and I still think that holds. But I think some of the big home field things that the NFL provides, like noise to make line of scrimmage changes more difficult on an offense, increased false starts for the road team's offensive line, and most importantly, by far most importantly, referee bias towards the home team stems, I think, from fans. And I think that narrative has been proven out statistically. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, all that won't be around. So yeah, I think we need to retrain our brains at least a little bit to not be as averse to road players. Like 50% less impact? I honestly don't know, but it's a good conversation to have with yourself, and it's worth thinking about. Question 7 from Justin Rao. He says, will you be having a 4-man or somewhere where your cash lineup is posted after lock on Sundays? Yeah, so Justin is referring to the old DFS Edge 3-mans I would play against Al and Pete, where I would, put my cash team in it, and I'd tweet a link to it for people to follow along as I, humiliated Al and Pete. Duck treats for Jerry, that whole bit. The 3-man is now dead, as the Edge is dead. The DFS Edge is now dead. But yeah, I know people like to follow along with what I played. So yeah, I'll post a link to some game, maybe some standard, like something standard like the, $100 single entry double up or something like that. I can post a link after lock if people want to follow along there. Question 8 from Joseph O'Leary. He says, first year doing DFS, what is the best way to get started? Yeah, man, it's awesome, Joseph. It's awesome that people are trying DFS for the first time in 2020. I actually thought that maybe the DFS space was topped out a couple years ago. Like anyone who wanted to try it out already has. But lately, I've kind of been getting the sense that there's a lot of new people, more season-long people coming over and stuff like that, which is awesome. So look, I'd say three things, maybe 4 things if you're just getting started playing for the first time. The first thing, for sure, keep expectations in check. Please, please. We're smart in this. Do not fall for marketing stuff like win $1 million, Sunday and stuff like that. That's just nonsense. The second thing I'd say is do not worry about ownership at all. Like, just don't even think about it if you're just starting out. And I know you'll hear tons of people talk about it, and we'll talk about it. But the first thing you need to do before you start thinking about ownership is just get a solid understanding of what's a good play and what isn't. Third thing I'd say is game selection. I'd really, really encourage everyone to read the game selection article I posted on ETR. It's free. It's just so easy to clean up your game selection, aka which contests you play, and spike your ROI like immediately. And again, the article is free. I actually go like contest by contest explaining like what I think is right for a good mix of fun and giving yourself a positive expectation on the week. Also, I spent 4 chapters in my book, mostly joking around and busting balls, but I did spend 2 chapters in there talking about game selection and roster construction. I think it's $9.99 on Amazon, but it's free if you're an in-season sub at ETR. So the link is in the About tab on the site in the top nav. I'd recommend checking that out too if you're starting out. And the last thing I'd say is just make a lot of lineups, and in these lineups, just try to figure out how can I get as many touches and targets from good players in there as possible. If you're just starting out and you just think about that, like let me jam as many targets and touches as I can into each lineup as possible, just focus on opportunity, I think you'll be fine. Question 9 from Cody Ash. He says, how do I explain my Will Fuller pick when he pulls a hammy in week 1? Yeah, it's so funny, man. Like, of course, Will Fuller's first game is the Island game. The opener probably will be like the highest rated game all year. I mean, every single person in the world is going to be watching this. And I honestly, I can't face it if he gets hurt. Like, I can't face he's injury prone Twitter. I will just take my L and log out. Like, I can't face it. What I will say, though, is that it is somewhat baked into the market. Will Fuller started off draft season as a round 9 pick. And now he's a round 6 pick. But it's still baked in because, if he stays healthy, obviously round 6 is going to be way too cheap for Will Fuller. So that's the only thing I'd say there as kind of a hedge. All right, last question we're going to do today comes from good friend BSauce33. He says, what are your and GenderLabs general thoughts on contraception? Specifically, I'm wondering about the married male age 35 to 40 demographic. Yeah, so look, I have 2 kids. And they're great. I love them. But speaking frankly, I would consider having a 3rd kid probably a top 1 worst thing to ever happen to me. I'd rather watch Jaguars Titans with no money on it I'd rather play in like a $5 season-long league against office mates and then like chat about it around the water cooler. And so, of course, the easy answer here, and probably the right answer, honestly, is vasectomy, right? And I get that. I really do. And I'm working up the courage to do it. But I'm just so afraid of needles around my dick. Like, I'm just so afraid of the procedure messing with me. I haven't done it yet. So the bottom line is, yes, I have been having condomed intercourse since my second son was born, and he'll be 3 in January. And I know you're laughing at me. I know you're laughing. Adam, condoms are the worst, etc. Man, I got to tell you, just the feeling of knowing contraception is taken care of, it's liberating. And like as an added bonus, like instead of like 13 pumps, I can get like maybe 83 pumps off. And I know this is a controversial take, right? But I stand by this being the right take for now. All right, this is going to do it for the first solo pod of the 2020 season. We'll be back with the NFC team by team pod version with Silva. And then the AFC one will be behind the paywall. We will be emailing you guys instructions if you're a subscriber to access the private RSS feed. If you have just the draft kit, you'd like to sign up for the bundle and get access to everything we're doing from week 1 through the Super Bowl, shoot a note to support at establishtheRun.com. We will get you taken care of. So, for Jerry, for producer Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.